Hello, Eddie here, Torrance University's marketing lecturer, and now I'm going to introduce to you Module 1. So the purpose of this topic is basically a brief introduction to marketing that covers some key concepts in marketing, basically. They are the ones that we try to discuss in this presentation, okay? And the next part is basically about environmental analysis that we need to look at or go through when it comes to marketing topics. Okay, now let's have a look at it. First, if you look at these slides, we will be discussing about what marketing is all about. And when it comes to marketing, lots of people talk about advertising, promotion, selling. There are some keywords that people may use to describe what marketing is all about. Well, actually, marketing goes beyond advertising, promotion, or selling. Okay, so what is marketing all about? Well, imagine if we set up a firm. Our firm will not live alone. Our firm will definitely interact with someone else. In this instance, the focal point that we need to interact with is the customer. So we'll be interacting with the customer. And how do we interact with the customers? Imagine that we set up a firm, and on the other side, we have the customer as our counterpart in our interaction. How do we interact with them? It is actually what we call as exchange process. So we interact with the customers through the exchange process. Okay. Now let's zoom into what we mean by exchange. Exchange happens if two parties agree to get something from the other party and offer something else in return. Okay, so without that, the exchange process will not happen. Okay, so if we look at the exchange process that we just briefly talked about, both parties must have something to offer. As a firm, we must have something to offer, and the customer should have something else to offer. In this instance, they must have need and purchase power. Okay, so when the customer evaluates our offering meeting their need, that means the customer say, hey, our offering helps them solving their problem. In that case, we actually have helped the customers adding value to their life. Okay, now adding value to the customer's life does not mean a high technological product like the guys at Apple or Google or Cochlear or some other technological companies do. It could be as simple as laundry detergent. It could also be as simple as nappies for baby that absorb liquid better, so babies can sleep well at night. With that, we actually have added value to the customer's life. Since the customers find it is adding value to their life, they are willingly to get engaged with our exchange process. Okay, so they will exchange it through their purchase power. They'll spend the money to acquire the value that we offer. Okay, by that time we actually have created value for the firm. So that's what marketing is all about. We create value. We live in the business of creating value for the customers, so that we can also create value for our firm. Okay, so for a more comprehensive definition of marketing, I would recommend you to look at the American Marketing Association's websites, aside from your learning resources. Okay, all right. So that's what we mean by marketing, basically. Okay, And again, it is basically revolving around the exchange process and building relationship with the customers. Okay, so it's not only about selling something. Okay, marketing used to be considered as marketing mix variables only or selling only, but it is misleading basically. Okay, when it comes to marketing, it takes more than just selling something. Then, and in fact, the marketing mix variables are not that are not considered as transaction anymore. It used to be a transactional marketing, but now people say marketing mix variables should be considered as the tools for marketing management to drive the exchange process with the customers. Okay, all right. Now, again, as discussed before, marketing is the selling and advertising only a small part of marketing process. And the entire things that we do in marketing is actually to drive the exchange process with the customers, to build and maintain relationship with the customers. So have a look at the definition of marketing that the American Marketing Association has published. So how do we do that? Well, like any other business functions, marketing also has process. In this instance, marketing normally, in general, marketing will start with understanding. Understanding what? Understanding the customers, understanding the market, right? So we try to conduct some research to find out what the customers' needs are, what the preferences are, and the competitors offering, and the other forces in the environment. They are the ones that we are going to discuss in the second part of Module 1. Okay. Then after we understand the customers, understand the market trends, what else we do? We try to create offering that meets their need. Okay. The next thing that we do is to communicate it to the customers. That's when advertising, promotional activities come in. Okay. And after that, we deliver it. After we communicate it, we get engaged with the customers. We deliver what we promise for the customers. Okay. Now, that process goes back to understanding, because after we perform the entire process, we'll get some learning from the customers. We get some learning from our experience managing the customer's need. Okay, so that's basically marketing in a nutshell. Okay, now this presentation, part 1 presentation of Module 1, will discuss the key concepts of marketing, and we in total will have 110 slides. I'm not going to discuss everything, all slides. I just discuss with you the key points of this module, and I would recommend you to go through the learning resources for our discussion later on. All right, so this is one that we discussed briefly before. We can also use this definition based on the textbook, Pratt and Farrell, and you can also refer to the, again, marketing definition published by the American Marketing Association. Right. And actually, marketing used to be defined as the organizational function. But now, if you refer to the American Marketing Association definition, they focus more on the activities, processes, basically. So they have gone beyond organizational function. What does it mean? Well, that means marketing is basically performed by the entire organization function, not only the marketing department. Okay, this definition here that focuses on the organizational function basically leads us to the marketing department, whilst the marketing function itself, it's not only performed by marketing department. Okay, so in the second part, in micro-environmental analysis, we'll be discussing briefly about all organizational functions. Wherever you work in the organization, you'll be contributing to creating value. Okay. Right, so the focus is again satisfying customers' needs, and because by satisfying customer needs, we actually create value for the customers, we solve the customer's problem. Right, I'm going to skip that. Right, so therefore, one of the things that we'll also discuss in this subject is actually to try to understand target market, which is part of the strategic marketing. Okay, and we'll discuss that in the not in this module, but in the next couple of modules. Right, now this one here is basically about marketing philosophies that a company may adopt, and there are actually 5 marketing philosophies that that a company can select. Okay, the first one is the production concept. Okay, the production concept is adopted by a company that believes that customers that they can win the customers' heart if they can make their product available and affordable. Okay, so the focus is basically to manage their costs in production and distribution. Okay, because if they manage the cost, the production costs and distribution costs, they could manage the price affordable. Therefore, they can push the availability of the product or services. Okay, so companies that adopt this philosophy normally consider that the customers have the same need. Okay, the customers have the same needs, which is basically about getting things, buying things based on price. Okay, so they provide one thing for everybody. Okay, now we know that it is not popular, but nonetheless, there are some companies around the world that still adopt this production concept. So their focus would be to battle their own costs. Okay. The next one is actually a product concept, which is adopted by companies that believe that they can win the customers if they can provide the customers with strong product quality, performance, features, and so on and so forth around the product, making the product perfect, basically. Okay, so this one may lead to what we call as marketing myopia, which is basically focusing on what the company can make. Okay, what the company needs to make rather than what the customers needs or wants. Okay, right, now the next thing is selling concepts. Okay, the company that adopts selling concept basically believe that customers won't buy enough their products or services unless they perform a large-scale selling and promotional activities. Okay, so the company that adopts this may conduct advertising campaign, heavy advertising campaign, right, without referring to the customer's need. Okay, so some people may confuse themselves with the selling concept because they may believe that selling concept companies do not advertise. Well, not really. Companies that adopt selling concepts may also advertise. Okay, but they are lacking of understanding of the customers. Okay. Now the next thing is basically this the marketing concept. Okay, the marketing concept is actually adopted by the company that believes that they need to understand the customers. Right? They need to understand the customers. They need to understand the market. Okay, so that they can create, communicate, and deliver what the customers' needs are. So they believe they can win, they can make profit if they can satisfy the customer's need. Okay, so that's this marketing concept is basically about the definition that we just discussed before, where we take the customers as the focal point in the exchange process. The last one is societal marketing concept. This philosophy is actually adopted by companies that try to find the balance between the company's need, which is basically making profit, the customer's need, which is basically fulfilling their needs and wants, and the society's interest, which is basically ensuring that the business environment and also the environment in a broader sense can be sustainable. Okay, so because there is a strong call from the society for all business practitioners to ensure that we can pass the environment to next generation, and next generation. Okay. Now the term environment in here also includes being socially responsible, aside from environmentally responsible. So that includes ethics as well in the context of societal marketing concepts. Okay. All right. So there are the 5 marketing philosophies, and which is basically about the guiding principles. Okay. So this philosophy is normally used by the organizations to guide their own marketing efforts. Okay, so you can imagine that companies that adopt production concept, for instance, their focus would be cost. Okay, so they drive everything towards the cost. Okay, let's contrast that with a company that adopts a marketing concept. Their focus would be around understand the customer's need. Okay, how do we do that? How do we get there? Let's do research. Okay, and let's discuss with our stakeholders to deliver how we can deliver the customer's needs best. Okay, so if you contrast these two. Okay, so we talk about needs. Now this slide is actually showing us the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay. Maslow's actually suggesting us that the customer's needs basically starts with the physiological needs, and then after they fulfill that physiological needs, like food, water, shelter, clothing, and so on and so forth, customers would elevate it to the next level, which is basically about safety and security. Okay, and then elevate to the next level, until the last level, which is basically self-actualization. Okay, so that's what hopefully that tells us how customers fulfill their needs, prioritize their needs. Okay, needs and wants are basically 2 different things. A lot of people have used these 2 terms interchangeably. However, needs and wants are 2 different things. Needs are basically state of felt deprivation, whilst wants are basically a particular form a need might take. Okay, so in that case, wants is actually influenced by personality and cultural background of the person. Okay, so as an example, if you talk about we are hungry, then we actually talk about need. We need to eat. Okay. But how do we fulfill that hunger may be different, right? Influenced by the culture and personality. All right. Some people may prefer a sandwich. Okay. Some other people may want a noodle, or some other people may want curry food, for instance, which is quite spicy, and these people love something spicy, for instance. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea in terms of the difference between needs and wants. The other concept, which is also fundamental in marketing, is demand. Demand is actually want that is backed up by purchase power, or those who like mathematical symbols. Demand is actually want plus money. Okay, to satisfy their needs and wants. Demand may be varied because of the seasonality, business buying cycles in the context of business-to-business marketing, consumer trend, environmental issue, perceptions of the customers, and also fashion. Okay, now we talk about market, and this is what actually we mean by market. It consists of actual and potential buyers. In other words, market is customer, market is people. In the olden days, market was defined as the place where buyers and sellers meet. Okay, but in the recent development, we understand that market is actually about potential and actual buyers of certain product categories. All right, in the beginning of our discussion, we talk about relationship with the customers. Okay, we have moved from transactional marketing into relationship marketing. Okay, in 1960s, marketers learned about marketing mix as part of the transactional marketing. But then the other expert named Leonard Berry suggested that hey, hang on a second, guys. Actually, the keyword in marketing is not marketing mix, but the keyword in marketing is actually relationship in the exchange process. Okay, so it is also we can also trace back the relationship, the value of relationship marketing in the olden days when merchants meet the other merchants as well with the customers, and they build relationships. Okay, because of ensuring their business would be ongoing. Okay, now again. In the recent development of marketing, we understand that marketing is not only about one-stop transaction, that's it, full stop, and there you go. Okay, but we also need to think about building and maintaining relationship. So the challenge in there is, how do we know that we have built a relationship? What is the measure to understand that we have built the relationship with the customers in positive way? Well, one of the concepts that we can use is the customer satisfaction, which is basically reflecting whether what we offer meets the customer value or not. Okay. In other words, customer satisfaction is whether the product or service that we offer matches the customer's expectation. Okay. Now you will recall that when you want to buy something, either mobile phone, watches, or laptop, or shoes, or anything, you have a set of expectation on each brand that you select. After you purchase it and you evaluate it, okay, I think this brand meets my expectation, then the satisfaction would be high. Okay, so that's customer satisfaction. Now, customer value is actually the difference between the value that the customers gains from owning and using a product and the cost of obtaining it. Okay, in other words, it is actually the difference between the money that I spent and the benefit or value that the customers get from the product that or service that they purchase. Okay, so the same thing. When you want to purchase a watch, for instance, or a breakfast cereal, or anything, fashion, shoes. You have you'll spend some money, which is basically a cost, and then you're going to compare to the benefit that you obtain through buying this product or service. Okay, that refers to the customer value. Okay, well, in some instances, we may reduce the demand of certain products, basically, and it might happen, and that's what we call as the marketing. Let's say tobacco products, for instance, we have heard that some people try to run quit smoking campaign, for instance, to reduce the demand of this product category. Okay. Okay, so we've discussed this a lot. Exchange is a keyword in marketing. Okay, aside from relationship, the core of the keyword, the essence of the exchange process in here is actually leading us to building relationship with the customers. Okay, so we are not going to do just one-off transaction with the customers, but we try to build and maintain the relationship with the customers. All right, now there are some key concepts that we've discussed before about the marketing, and we discussed needs, wants, demands. We discussed customer satisfaction, relationship, markets, transactions. Okay. Now, if you look at the definition of marketing published by the American Marketing Association, they use the term market offerings. They do not use the term product. The reason for that is market offerings. Market offerings are basically the vehicle for customers to meet their needs, wants, and demands. Okay, and the customers may need more than just product to meet their needs. Okay, therefore, market offerings consist of products or physical goods, services, information, and so on and so forth, right? Or experience as another way to meet their needs. Okay, if you go to water park like Wet and Wild or Water Boom, for instance, okay, you go there not to just to get a piece of paper named ticket, but you go there to get the experience, the excitement of the water park. Okay, so we use the term market offering because if we use the term product, it may be associated as a physical good. Okay. Okay, that's one that we also have discussed briefly, and we are going to move on. And next thing that we need to do is to create a value proposition, which is basically part of promise. It is a set of benefits that we promise to deliver for the customers, and it is the fundamental element before we discuss about the positioning of the product. And we are going to revisit this when it comes to strategic marketing. Right, there you go. This is our strategic marketing in a nutshell. We start with the environment, economic, political, legal, technological, social, culture, and competitive forces that will affect what we want to promise for the customers and how we deliver that through product, price, place, and promotion for the customers as the core value delivery in marketing. All right, now the next thing that we are going to discuss in this part is the marketing mix variables, and briefly we are going to talk about the 4 Ps and later on the extended marketing mix variables. Okay, the 4 Ps that we are going to discuss in here are quite brief, and we are going to revisit these one by one in the second part of your of the course. Okay. Right, so 4 Ps are basically the core marketing mix variables that contain product, price, place, promotion. And retail marketing may put it in a different way, in a different order, and they may start with placements because placement for them is quite critical. It is probably the game changer in retail marketing, but generally speaking, we start with product for all other industries. All right, so product briefly includes the quality, the design, the features, the brand name, packaging, sizes, add-on, anything that we add to the product, the warranties or refunds or returns, which is part of the policies of the company as well. And next one is price. That includes a number of things that include the list price, discount, how much discount that we give. Placements are basically about the channels, the coverage, how the customers can find, where the customers can find a product and access the benefit of product. And promotion, which is basically about these tools that we are going to discuss in promotional mix. Okay, advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, and so on and so forth. Now, if you look at that, if we define marketing as advertising, it is just a small part of marketing, as we've been discussing before. So please, when it comes to marketing, again, please think about the word exchange. Please think about the word relationship. Okay. Right, so that's basically product variable. I'm not going to detail that. Please have a look at your learning resources and price variable, which is basically second marketing mix variable. Okay, and we are going to revisit each of the marketing mix variable in more detail in the second part. Okay, and distribution, which is basically the third variable, which is basically about how we cover the customers. That includes channel decision and also the distribution coverage decision. Okay? All right. Promotion, which is basically intended to create awareness. to educate the customers about certain product features, or introduce the new product for the customers, encourage the customers to buy a product, or discourage customers to not to buy a product in the case of the marketing campaign, like tobacco. Okay, that helps sustaining the interest in established products, and that also helps us building the image of the brand. Okay, all right. Now we recall that basically the keyword in marketing is relationship. Okay. And in terms of relationship marketing, a lot of experts try to offer where does the word relationship come in? What is the origin of the word relationship in marketing? Okay, and they look at services industry. They argue that services industry is different. It requires more. It requires more customer service in that regards. It requires more structured system to meet the customer's need in the services industry. But this goes back to the keyword in marketing, where it is actually about relationship. Okay, so therefore, scholars offer the other 4 P's, or that becomes 8 P's, which is basically the extended marketing mix variables that include people, process, physical evidence, and partnership. If you look at that, the key focus in here is to build the relationship with the customers. Okay, so people in here is basically about the staff, the human resources that helps us building the customer's experience. Again, the customer's experience, right, which is basically related to the relationship that we build with the customers. Process is basically about the systems that we use to deliver the service. Physical evidence is actually the elements that allow the customers to make judgment on the organizations. This includes tangible cues, any symbols that the customers can use to for them to interpret that that we deliver the service for the customers. Okay, so if you go into a store like David Jones, for instance, you can look at the ambience of the store, the layout of the store, the logo, the display. Okay, that's part of the physical evidence that they try to create, to symbolize that they are going to deliver a certain level of customer service in the industry. And the next one is partnership, which is basically our business alliance to deliver the service for the customers. Okay, so we also acknowledge in relationship marketing that to deliver the service for the customers, we need to engage with the other parties as well. Okay. All right, so that's basically the marketing mix variables in this instance. And again, the key point is to create value as discussed before, and customers would expect larger benefit than the cost that they spend. Okay, and that's what we mean by value, which is basically about the benefits, and that considers the cost. And marketing mix in here basically is a tool that enhances the perceptions of the value. Okay, so again, in my personal view, marketing mix is basically the tool that marketing management use to drive the exchange process and build the relationship with the customers. Okay, so it is meant to support the strategic marketing, which is basically about the positioning, value proposition, and positioning. Okay. Okay, so that's basically the key points that we need to discuss today, and with this module. Okay, and we are going to discuss the second part of module 1. Okay, now this one here, part is basically a little bit about the process, detailing the ones that the 4 steps I discussed before: understand, create, communicate, and deliver. So similar to that one, we actually elaborate that in our PI model. Okay. Right, that's a bit of example of the goal of marketing in general, customers' loyalty. Okay, and right now let's discuss further in